Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40k universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today, we talk about the Iron Warriors. I tallied up all the suggestions left in the Iron Hands video, and it turns out that the next legion you guys want us to talk about is the Iron Warriors, the ugliest legion of them all. Ugliest because Perturabo is supposed to be a hideous ogre-looking guy, but regardless, what I need from you guys is to comment down below with suggestion followed by whatever first founding legion you guys want us to create a video for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the suggestions and add them to the suggestions of the previous videos, tally them all up, and the one with the most tallies gets the next video. So please do me that huge favor and comment down below with suggestion with your suggestion. And another special note that I want to ask you guys is pay attention to the way GW wrote the lore for the Iron Warriors. If you pay attention, the Iron Warriors are always compared to another legion. When you speak about the Space Wolves or the Blood Angels, they always are standalone. They have their own culture. Whereas with the Iron Warriors, it seems that their culture is dependent on other legions. So in other words, GW is painting them to be like the ugly stepchild. What that does, I'm pretty sure that's intentional, but what that does is it kind of gives you a justification as to why they became traitorous. And if that's the case, comment down below and let me know if you believe that the Iron Warriors are justified in their pursuit of chaos because of the way that they're being treated and the way that you will learn about their origins. So keep that in mind, and can't wait to read your comments down below. With that said, let's get into 40 facts about the Iron Warriors. The Iron Warriors are one of the 9 traitor legions of Chaos Spacemarines that turned to the service of Chaos during the Horus Heresy, and now fight to overthrow the Imperium of Man. The Iron Warriors, who were originally the 4th Legion of Space Marines, specialized in the breaking of sieges and assaults on static fortifications, which made them great rivals of the Imperial 5th Legion, said to construct the greatest static defenses in the Imperium. The Iron Warriors do not accept mutations among their ranks as willingly as most of the other traitor legions, instead choosing to remove the corrupted limbs and replacing them with powerful, infallible cybernetics, as do the loyalist Iron Hands. This is consistent with their beliefs, as they are not devout worshippers of the Chaos Gods like some of the other traitor legions, instead honoring their power and using the benefit offered by the legions of Chaos to empower themselves rather than worshipping it. Their battle cry is iron within, iron without. Due to a few chaotic corruptions in their gene seed, they often suffer from deformed limbs, but this too is usually corrected with cybernetics. They retain their Primarch's cold intelligence, paranoia, dark skin, and dark eyes, and are noted for a preference for technological methods of warfare. Prior to the Horus Heresy, the Iron Warriors wore silver-colored power armor trimmed with gold. This has changed very little in the millennia since, except for the display of iconography with chaotic symbolism, such as the chaotic star, the most infamous of the marks of chaos. Like most of the Legion of Astartes, the Iron Warriors employed a wide range of symbols, icons, and heraldry, much of it derived from the earliest percepts of the Dictorum Armoralia, some from the cultural idioms of the world on which the Primarch was discovered, and still some more evolved as the Legion developed its own unique identity. The Iron Warriors were notable for their characteristic focus on brutally functional icons, devoid of embellishments and a relative lack of individualism or personal ornamentation, traits very much in line with the personality of their Primarch. The Legion's badge is that of an iron mask formed into the shape of a skull. Upon seeing this symbol, few could doubt the intent and the grim determination of this legion. When the Iron Warriors turned to Chaos, this symbol was slightly redesigned, and is now superimposed over the symbol of the 8-pointed Chaos Star. Both before and after the Horus Heresy, the Iron Warriors often painted and continued to paint their weapons and other heavy equipment with black and yellow construction chevrons, to emphasize their tendency to construct their own fortifications while demolishing their enemies. Founded, as its brother legions were on Terra, during the closing stages of the Unification Wars, which presaged the Emperor's Great Crusade in the middle centuries of the 30th millennium. Considerable surface-level details on the origins of the 4th Legion remains. Its first mustered grounds are noted to have been found atop the wreckage of a reoffender's fortress on the Aurora Plateau of Sek Amrak. The warlike gun tribes, blood grievous, and tech enclaves in the surrounding area provided the Legion with much of its earliest waves of recruits as the insubordinate regent was brought fully into the fold of a Terran unification, rapidly becoming one of the most stalwart of the loyalist domains. Documentary evidence attests that the 4th Legion's gene seed showed an above-average adaptability, and rates of implant rejections were notably low, particularly in comparison with difficulties in large-scale implantations encountered within other progenioid types. This advantage meant that the 4th Legion's fighting strength was built rapidly, expanding to several fully battle-ready battalions in size, while some of the other new legions were still yet unable to field more than an active sentry. This in turn meant that the 4th Legion was very swiftly put to active service alongside the 1st Legion, the Dark Angels, and the 5th Legion, the White Scars. The Legion fought first on Terra, in the destruction of the final resistant elements there and then throughout the pacification of Terra's solar system. Testament to this fact can be found in surviving frescoes in the Imperial Palace. According to them, with the battle honors of the Cyto-Tyra Orbital, the Cydex Archipelago, Ice Station Echo, and Mech Yasht. The lattermost of these names is perhaps the most noteworthy, as it was the key battle of the punishing Venusian campaign, and its citation accords the serried ranks and proud steel banners of the 4th Legion as going forth and into battle under the direct command of the Emperor himself to break the back of the deadly, lethal golem armies of the War Witches. It appears that the 4th Legion's early successes were accordingly rewarded with the primary resupply of newer classes of weapons and war machines as they were made available from the Emperor's allegiance with Mars, as well as a noteworthy short-term increased intake of Terran recruits, originally intended for the 3rd Legion, the Emperor's Children, swelling its numbers further to replace ongoing losses occurred in battle. It was by this gene seed adaptability and proven success in battle that the 4th Legion became one of the most numerous of the Legiones Astartes during the earliest years of the Great Crusade, enabling its forces to successfully split between several substantial early expeditionary fleets. Most notable of these was the 8th Expeditionary Fleet, in which it formed the key and lending elements. This force conquered or reclaimed 29 core world system clusters and annihilated several interstellar Xenos realms in a protracted 11-year campaign, which played a great key part in the establishment of the Imperium's control of the Segmentum Solar. All were achievements for which it was recognized and commanded by the Emperor in return. The 4th Legion took from the 8th Expeditionary Fleet the emblem of the winged bolt as its first heraldric device, and displayed its battle honors with pride, carrying them as vexile standards before the dauntless columns of its legionnaires as they advanced into shot and shell across the dozen worlds conquered by the forces of the 4th Legion's arms. As the forces of the Great Crusade went beyond the boundaries of the Segmentum Solar, pushing onward with the Great Crusade's expansion, several sources note that the 4th Legion, which was not to be united with its Primarch until the late 30th millennium, had quickly lost any specific ties to Terra, either by culture or indeed recruit intake patterns. Although, as it pushed ever onward at the forefront of expansion, its military formations remained rigidly unchanged. The 4th Legion's adherence to the organizational structures, fighting methods, and laid out as a pattern for the Legiones Astartes at the beginning of the Great Crusade remained consistent, with no fresh stamp of culture brought by interactions with a Primarch for many Terran years. As a result, its methods of warfare too were largely unaltered, regardless of circumstance or enemy, and the Legion was to overcome any obstacle or difficulties they faced with relentless and merciless applied force of arms alone rather than cunning strategies or blood-handed heroism. These combined factors set them out as being increasingly different from any of the other brother legions, as by this period of the Great Crusade, most Space Marine legions were now divergent from the basic Terran pattern set as the template during their first muster, regardless of whether or not they had been united with their Primarch. Unlike the 4th Legion, their brother legions had, with the space of a few short decades, evolved to demonstrate recognizably, and in some cases extreme character traits and modes of warfare of their own, that errated considerably from the basic pattern. And to these, the consistency and pragmatism of the 4th Legion's operation stood out in contrast. These traits labeled them as unimaginative and even honorless fighters in the minds of certain other Space Marine legions and their masters, not least of all Horus. It has been said, conversely, to some with the Great Crusade's high command, these traits were positive factors, making the 4th Legions arguably more reliable in deployment than some of the more egotistical legions, and more ready to meet commands from outside their own legion without complaint. Accordingly, the 4th Legion was increasingly used to fight often in glorious but vital campaigns of backbreaking attrition and drown-out bloodshed, and they became, in short, a workhorse legion, relied upon for both their martial power and their reliability in following orders to the letter. Furthermore, whereas substantially sized legions such as that of Lemanrus of the Space Wolves, Pharismanus of the Iron Hands, and Horus of his Luna Wolves refused to split their forces at the behest of minors and mere humans, the 4th Legion did not balk at any duty to which they were lawfully tasked. They fought repeatedly in thankless sieges and protracted suppression campaigns, which demanded the might of the Legiones Astartes to secure victory, but which carried little renown. They also undertook the garrisoning of worlds too dangerous for any of the other Legiones Astartes to hold. The 4th Legion had a single charted course, whose direction lay in the hands of others, to follow the orders of the Great Crusade, whether it was tasked to go and to fight and die as it must. From war zone to war zone, the 4th Legion went without respite or fanfare, taking bleak pride in its largely thankless work. So the Legion began at last to change. Just as its formerly great strength in numbers was bled through attrition, the brother legions outpaced its glory. With the benefit of hindsight, it is perhaps possible to see that it was during these times, even before they were reunited with their Primarch, that a subtle wedge had been driven between the 4th Legion and its brother legions, creating a fracture that would only worsen in time. The 4th Legion from their earliest days operated with determination and disciplined force, as solid and unyielding as the metal that they would later take on as part of their name. They were known to be among the more technologically able and proficient legions by inclination, although were overshadowed in this somewhat by the 10th Legion, the Iron Hands, during the Great Crusade's earliest years, and preferred to strike always from a position of overwhelming superiority, bringing maximum force directly to bear on a foe. A bitter stubbornness grew over time within the 4th Legion, and became a point almost of pride. They refused to fail, regardless of the cost in lives, and were determined to claw victory against any odds by sheer dint of discipline and firepower. As the Legion's victories, often unsung, were many, so were their price high. The seeming paradox of pronounced reliance on rationality and intellect set against infrequent but telling episodes of bloody-minded stubbornness in the Legion's behavior was never more apparent when during the liberation of the worn-torn forge world of Incaldonia in the grueling campaign lasting between the year 842 and 843 of the 30th millennium. Although victory was at last achieved, the war would see the near annihilation of the 8th Expeditionary Fleet's frontline force in what was arguably a needless costly fashion. In the aftermath, several critical voices in the imperial court and among primarchs opinionated that defeat had been deliberately courted by the 4th Legion in order to prove that they alone could do what was asked of them, no matter the odds. During this battle, the Legion refused to withdraw from the field after an initial assault unraveled spectacularly in the face of unprecedented and unexpected enemy counterattacks. They fought on regardless, adhering to a battle plan already tattered. Nearly 29,000 of their numbers fell in a single engagement before enemy forces were worn down by bloody attrition, including many of the Legion's most veteran units, making the battle one of the most costly of its age. What remained of the 4th Legion after this incident was a legion no longer in favor, and without a Primarch yet to speak of. By the end of the decade, it was perhaps accurate to say that the 4th Legion's star had waned greatly as others rose. This campaign had casted a veil over the 4th Legion's early successes, and seen many of their most senior commanders slain, as well as a wholesale slaughter of over 2 million mortal Imperial Army soldiers under their command. While once the 4th Legion had been amongst the most numerous of Space Marine legions, constant warfare and attrition had eroded their numbers, not dangerously to their existence, as the 4th Legion's gene seed continued to prove to be the highest quality as far as ease of implementation, but at least to the point where several others had since eclipsed them in size and range, while certain other legions, most notably the Luna Wolves and Dark Angels, outshone them in the glory and in majesty of their conquest. It was the 4th Legion's damaged, disabused, and without a clear direction of its own that the Primarch finally came. And those were 40 facts about the Iron Warriors. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're not done, so please subscribe to the channel if you want to get more lore on the Iron Warriors. The next part of the Iron Warriors story is going to be their encounter with their Primarch of Perturabo, aka Hephaestus. If you're familiar with Greek and Roman mythology, Perturabo is kind of based off of Hephaestus, which I think is pretty cool. Now what I need from you guys is please hit the little notification button right next to the subscribe button. By you guys doing that, Perturabo gets a little bit more beautiful in the warp. If you don't believe me, try it. Hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, and tonight in your sleep you're going to have a vision of Perturabo becoming a little bit more beautiful. So please help us out with that, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and make suggestions as to what other first founding legion you guys want to hear about. I'm trying to get the first founding legions out of the way, so which one is next? Which one do you want to hear about next? Your input is going to be tallied along with what you posted in the previous Space Marine Legions 40 facts. Again, guys, thank you so much for participating, and I'll catch you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.